Hello, everyone! Welcome to our literary journey through one of the great classics of American literature, The Great Gatsby, by F. Scott Fitzgerald. I'm excited to explore this magnificent novel with you, especially those of you who are using this series to improve your English listening skills. Whether you're here as a student, a fellow literature lover, or just curious, I'm glad you've joined me. First, a little background about the book and its author. The Great Gatsby was published in 1925 and is set in the summer of 1922. It takes place on Long Island and New York City during an era known as the Jazz Age, a term Fitzgerald himself coined. This was a time of dazzling parties and a seemingly endless stream of champagne, but also a period of deep social and moral changes in the aftermath of World War I. F. Scott Fitzgerald was born in 1896 in St. Paul, Minnesota, and is celebrated as one of America's greatest writers. His works are a vivid depiction of the Roaring Twenties, and he is known for his poignant and critical views on the American upper class and the American dream. The Great Gatsby is not just a novel about the rich and glamorous lives of its characters, but a profound exploration of the American dream's allure and its pitfalls. It tells the story of J. Gatsby, a man who climbs from nothing to wealth with the hopes of winning. Back the love he lost, Daisy Buchanan. Through the eyes of our narrator, Nick Carraway, we dive into the complexities of love, ambition, and identity. Today, we won't be reading the novel in its entirety, but rather a detailed summary that encapsulates its most pivotal moments and themes. However, I encourage you all to get a copy of this masterpiece that captures the glamour and despair of the 1920s. So, grab a cup of tea or coffee, settle in, and follow along on the screen as we dive into this abridged journey through the glitz and turmoil of the Jazz Age. I encourage you to share your thoughts and questions in the comments below. Engaging with your insights always brings a deeper understanding to our discussions. Let's begin our adventure into the world created by Fitzgerald. Ready? Here we go. The Mystery of Gatsby. Introduction to Gatsby. J. Gatsby is a figure shrouded in mystery and speculation, known throughout New York for his extravagant parties. Every weekend, his opulent mansion in West Egg becomes a hive of activity, drawing a crowd of the wealthy, the famous, and those attracted by the allure of such grandeur. These parties are characterized by their sheer scale and decadence. Orchestras play the latest tunes, champagne flows freely, and guests dance until dawn. The parties reflect the spirit of the Jazz Age, full of reckless jubilation and a stark contrast to the rigid social norms of the previous decades. Yet, amid all the revelry, Gatsby himself remains aloof, a distant observer in his own home, fueling rumors about his past and the source of his wealth. Gatsby's obsession. As the narrative unfolds, the heart of Gatsby's enigma is his obsession with Daisy Buchanan, a beautiful woman he fell in love with 5 years prior during his military service. Daisy, who now lives across the bay with her husband Tom, represents everything Gatsby yearns for: love, acceptance, and the status he craves. Gatsby's lavish lifestyle and his parties are revealed to be part of a carefully constructed attempt to attract Daisy's attention and win her back. He buys a mansion directly across the bay from hers, throws parties hoping she might wander in one night, and stares longingly at the green light at the end of her dock, a beacon of his unfulfilled dreams and desires. This obsession drives every decision Gatsby makes and sets the stage for the unfolding drama in the novel. The Buchanan household, Tom and Daisy. Tom Buchanan, Daisy's husband, is introduced as a figure of immense wealth and arrogance, hailing from an old, affluent family. A former football player at Yale, Tom's physical and social dominance is evident, yet his life is marked by a restlessness that leads him into various affairs, the most current with Myrtle Wilson, a woman from the working class. His behavior reveals the moral decay hidden beneath his polished exterior and the societal elite's superficial values. Daisy Buchanan is a charming and radiant figure, yet deeply enigmatic. Beneath her bright chatter and lovely face lies a deep vein of sadness, a sense of disillusionment with her marriage and the life she leads. Daisy is aware of Tom's infidelities, which adds to her alienation and unhappiness. However, she remains a complex figure, torn between her comfort in the luxury Tom provides and her feelings for Gatsby, which reawaken during the course of the story. Daisy and Gatsby's reunion. The reunion between Daisy and Gatsby is a poignant moment, orchestrated by Nick Carraway, Gatsby's neighbor and the novel's narrator, who also happens to be Daisy's cousin. In a carefully arranged meeting at Nick's modest cottage, Gatsby and Daisy reconnect after 5 years apart. The initial awkwardness quickly gives way to a rekindled intimacy as they reminisce and revisit their past love. This meeting is charged with significant emotional weight. Gatsby has idealized Daisy, holding on to the memory of their love as a symbol of everything he has ever wanted. For Daisy, the reunion reveals a glimpse of an alternate life path, away from the cynicism and disenchantment of her marriage. The renewal of their affection poses a direct challenge to the established social order represented by her marriage to Tom, setting the stage for the ensuing conflict. Gatsby's lavish mansion, purchased precisely to be across the water from Daisy's home, serves as the backdrop for their rekindled romance, where Daisy is both enchanted and overwhelmed by the manifestation of Gatsby's devotion symbolized by his grand home and the opulent parties he throws, all for her. The tragic climax, the confrontation. The tension that has been building throughout the summer reaches a boiling point in a sweltering suite at the Plaza Hotel. This is where the critical confrontation between Tom Buchanan and Jay Gatsby unfolds, an intense and pivotal scene that reveals the deep-seated conflicts and emotional turmoil of the characters involved. The afternoon begins with an air of underlying hostility as the group, consisting of Tom, Daisy, Gatsby, Jordan, and Nick, decides to escape the heat by heading into the city. As they settle into the opulence of the Plaza Hotel, Tom's suspicions and jealousy towards Gatsby escalate, leading him to finally confront the man he believes is trying to steal his wife. The room crackles with tension as Tom, in a voice dripping with contempt and anger, begins to challenge Gatsby's intentions and his mysterious past. Gatsby, typically composed and controlled, is pushed to his limits and demands that Daisy admit she never loved Tom, insisting that she only loves him, Gatsby. This moment is critical, as Gatsby has staked his entire life on recreating the past and reclaiming Daisy as his own. Daisy, caught in the middle of this emotional tug-of-war, is overwhelmed. While she harbors feelings for Gatsby, the reality of completely denouncing her marriage and past with Tom proves too daunting. Her hesitation and failure to fully commit to Gatsby's narrative visibly deflate him, revealing the cracks in his meticulously crafted persona and dreams. Tom seizes this moment of weakness to assert his dominance over the situation. He begins to methodically dismantle Gatsby's facade, revealing to Daisy the dubious nature of Gatsby's wealth, which he suggests is amassed through illegal activities. The revelation adds to the strain, making Daisy further retreat into the safety of her familiar, albeit unhappy, life with Tom. As the confrontation reaches its zenith, the relationships begin to crumble under the weight of revealed secrets, emotional confrontations, and the harsh light of reality. The scene at the plaza is a turning point, setting the stage for the tragic events that follow, as it becomes clear that the dreams and desires that have driven Gatsby can no longer be sustained in the face of an unyielding reality. The accident. The climactic fallout of the confrontation at the Plaza Hotel leads to an event that irrevocably alters the course of the story. As Daisy and Gatsby drive back to West Egg in Gatsby's luxurious yellow car, Daisy is overwhelmed by the day's revelations and tensions. In her distressed state, she takes control of the wheel. The drive serves as a momentary escape from the emotional chaos, yet it ends in tragedy. As they speed through the Valley of Ashes, a stark, desolate area that symbolizes the decay beneath the surface of the glittering 1920s, Myrtle Wilson, Tom's mistress, sees the approaching yellow car. Earlier that day, after a fierce argument with her husband George, who has confined her after learning of her affair, Myrtle is desperate and agitated. She mistakenly believes the car is Tom's, who had earlier driven the same car to the city. In a frantic attempt to escape her grim reality, she rushes into the street, waving her arms to catch Tom's attention. Daisy, perhaps startled or unable to maneuver quickly enough, strikes Myrtle with the car. The impact is fatal, and they leave Myrtle's lifeless body lying in the road as they continue home, driven by shock and fear. Gatsby, protective of Daisy, and driven by his deep devotion, decides to take the blame for the accident if necessary. He is haunted not only by the tragedy, but also by the imminent shattering of his dream to be with Daisy. The news of Myrtle's death spreads rapidly, sending shockwaves through both the valley and the eggs. George Wilson, devastated and unhinged by the loss of his wife, becomes consumed with finding the driver responsible for the accident. His grief propels him on a path toward vengeance, guided by Tom Buchanan's manipulative revelations about the car's owner. This tragic accident sets the stage for the final act of the novel, as misunderstandings and secrets come to a head. It highlights the moral decay hidden beneath the wealth and glamour of the era, where lives are disregarded as easily as inconveniences. Myrtle's death serves as a grim reminder of the consequences that often follow the character's reckless and selfish behaviors, leading to a poignant and devastating climax. Gatsby's downfall, the fallout. In the aftermath of the tragic accident that claims Myrtle Wilson's life, Jay Gatsby finds himself in a state of desperate isolation. Despite the facade of his grand estate and his usually unshakable demeanor, the events unfold into a personal catastrophe for him. The night following the accident, he stands outside the Buchanan's home, keeping a solitary vigil. His hope is to ensure that Tom does not harm Daisy, reflecting his deep concern and undying devotion to her. However, beneath this protective guise, Gatsby harbors a deeper, more personal hope that Daisy will call him, signaling her intention to leave Tom and start anew with Gatsby. As the hours stretch into the early morning, Gatsby confides in Nick Carraway about the details of the accident. He reveals that it was Daisy who was driving the car, not him, yet he resolved to take the blame should the need arise. His unwavering commitment to Daisy extends beyond his own legal and social welfare. It encompasses his entire sense of self and purpose. This reveals the extent of Gatsby's idealism and his adherence to the dream that he and Daisy could recreate their past love. Throughout the following day, Gatsby's demeanor reflects a man clinging to the vestiges of a shattered dream. He dismisses all of his servants to prevent gossip, isolating himself further, and waits by the phone for a call from Daisy that never comes. This wait is poignant and symbolizes the crumbling of his carefully constructed world. His mansion, once a beacon of lavish parties and social gatherings, becomes a silent, empty shell, a stark contrast to its former glory. Nick, witnessing Gatsby's unwavering hope, sees the tragic flaw in his friend. Gatsby's dream was always an illusion, a vision of life that could not sustain itself in the face of reality. Despite everything, Gatsby's belief in the possibility of a future with Daisy remains intact, even as the narrative moves toward its inevitable, bleak conclusion. The fallout from the accident and the unyielding grip of his dreams lead Gatsby into a vulnerable position, making him an easy target for George Wilson's misguided quest for vengeance. Unbeknownst to Gatsby, the machinations of fate are closing in, propelled by Tom Buchanan's deceptive guidance to George Wilson, which will culminate in Gatsby's tragic end. Gatsby's death. The tragic demise of Jay Gatsby is the culmination of a series of misunderstandings and deceptions that ripple through the narrative. In the aftermath of Myrtle Wilson's death, her husband, George Wilson, is consumed by grief and a desire for vengeance. He is a broken man, grappling with the loss of his wife and the revelation of her infidelity, which compounds his torment. Driven by a need to find and punish the person responsible for Myrtle's death, George seeks answers. Tom Buchanan, seeing an opportunity to rid himself of Gatsby and protect his own interests, deceives George by implying that Gatsby not only owns the car that killed Myrtle, but was also her lover. This misinformation directs George's anguish and fury towards Gatsby, an innocent party in terms of the affair, but morally complicated due to his decision to cover for Daisy. On the last day of Gatsby's life, he decides to take a swim in his pool, clinging to the remnants of summer and perhaps, symbolically, to his fading dreams. As he floats in the water, the weight of his unfulfilled aspirations and the harsh realities of his life converge in a moment of poignant solitude. George Wilson, guided by Tom's manipulation, finds Gatsby at his mansion. To George, killing Gatsby is an act of justice, a way to avenge Myrtle's death. He shoots Gatsby while he is still in the pool and then, overwhelmed by his actions and the spiral of events that led him to this point, turns the gun on himself. The scene is tragic and stark, a violent end to Gatsby's grandiose dreams, and a somber commentary on the destructive power of falsehoods and revenge. Gatsby's death is shrouded in the same mystery and speculation that characterized his life. The man who once threw lavish parties that attracted hundreds of guests dies in profound loneliness, his dreams of love and acceptance with Daisy shattered. In his death, the great illusions of his life are stripped away, revealing the vulnerable and tragic figure beneath the veneer of the American dream. Nick Carraway, the observant and reflective narrator, views Gatsby's end as a needless tragedy, a result of the moral decay and carelessness of those around him, Daisy, Tom, and the society that created them. Gatsby's death underscores the novel's themes of obsession, betrayal, and the corrupting influence of wealth, leaving a lasting impact on all who knew him or of him. The conclusion. Nick's reflection. As the story of The Great Gatsby concludes, Nick Carraway, the observant and increasingly disillusioned narrator, reflects deeply on the events that have unfolded. The tragic death of Gatsby serves as a catalyst for his final disillusionment with the Eastern lifestyle, which he now sees as morally bankrupt and inherently corrupt. The glittering surface of high society has lost its allure, revealing a dark undercurrent of greed, betrayal, and cruelty. Nick's decision to return to the Midwest is not just a physical move, but a moral and emotional return to a simpler, more genuine way of life. He is haunted by the ghosts of what he has witnessed, the careless destruction of lives by those like Tom and Daisy, who smashed up things and creatures and then retreated back into their money or their vast carelessness. His final nights in West Egg are filled with restlessness and a deep yearning for cleansing, symbolized by his last act of erasing obscene words left on Gatsby's steps, attempting in vain to restore some order to the chaos left behind. The American Dream. The novel closes with Nick contemplating the larger implications of Gatsby's life and death, leading to a poignant reflection on the American dream. This dream, which originally was about discovery, individualism, and the pursuit of happiness, has been corrupted into a pursuit of material wealth and status. Gatsby's life epitomizes this shift. His love for Daisy was less about a single person and more about what she represented: status, money, and success. Nick recognizes the cyclic nature of human ambition and failure through the metaphor of Dutch sailors first sighting the New World, full of wonder and hope, yet inevitably leading to disillusionment. The green light, which Gatsby saw as a beacon to his dreams, symbolizes this corrupted dream, a constant reminder of what is always desired but never obtained. In this light, the characters' lives unfold as a series of illusions, revealing a stark reality beneath: the decay of morals in the Jazz Age, where the quest for pleasure and wealth supersedes the deeper qualities of humanity. The novel's final line, "So we beat on, boats against the current, borne back ceaselessly into the past," serves as a powerful conclusion to the story. It reflects the inescapable human condition of striving against the flow of time, continually drawn back into our pasts, much like Gatsby was, forever reaching for a dream just out of grasp, unable to escape the tide of his own history. As we close the final pages of The Great Gatsby, we not only reflect on the opulent yet tragic life of Jay Gatsby, but also on the broader lessons this novel imparts about the American dream and the complexities of human desire. This story, a rich tapestry of themes and emotions, invites us to explore deeper truths about ourselves and the society we inhabit. I encourage you all to continue discovering new worlds through reading and listening to stories. Each book opens a door to different perspectives and experiences, enriching your understanding and empathy. Let the curiosity sparked today lead you to your next great adventure in literature. Remember, every story you engage with broadens your horizons and deepens your comprehension of the world. Keep reading, keep listening, and keep growing.